Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Film Journal podcast. Thanks again for joining us today. I'm George, my co host, Ryan. Today, we're discussing the epic films of Ray Harryhausen, four of his best from each decade of his long spanning career. If you have not done so already, if you enjoy this show and want to listen to it audio only, it's available on all podcast platforms from iTunes to Spotify. And if you feel so moved, it would be really cool if you could stop and leave a review on Apple or Spotify podcasts. That would be huge. 3 people watching. Go do it right now. Even if you're driving home from work, which I think is where people catch us on a Friday. Right? Hope everyone is having a great weekend. Ryan, are you going to have a great weekend?
I hope so.
Okay. Well, you got any big plans?
You could say that.
Oh, do you? Okay, let's go. I don't have anything big I'm doing. Just working on another video for you guys that should be out very shortly on all the President's Men, and then one following that's going to be really good as well that I think you'll enjoy. So, Ryan, whose idea was this show? Is it your show? I think this was your idea, and I said I would jump on it because I'm not very familiar. I was never that familiar with Ray Harryhausen. I've seen all the YouTube clips of the best, but this was a new one for me.
I think this was my idea, which we mentioned in passing as at least I was lamenting the quality of Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey and comparing it to the great epics of the 50s, 60s, and 70s by people like Harryhausen. Now, the film that I was referring to was Ulysses, which is not a Harryhausen film and it doesn't feature stop motion creatures, but it was in that tradition, I guess you could sort of call it.
Why do you suppose these are all called Harryhausen films when he had nothing to do with the writing, the directing, the producing? All he did was the special effects. Is that
That's not true, though.
The good part of the film is his special effects?
That's not true, though. He if you do notice, he's listed many times as a producer in the later films or as a story idea by so-and-so and Ray Harryhausen. But he is the true auteur of these films. The director, whoever that may be, is irrelevant for all intents and purposes on these films.
I would push back on that, and I think that we'll have a little spirited argument about that when it gets to some of the movies we talk about. But today we're going to be speaking about the seventh voyage of Sinbad from 1958, Jason and the Argonauts, 63, Golden Voyage of Sinbad, 73, and his final effort, The Clash of the Titans, in 1981. So, Ryan, can you tell us a little bit about our friend here, Ray Harryhausen, today?
Yeah, Ray Harryhausen, pioneer of stop motion animation. Well, I guess you could still call him that. He did not invent the technology, but he certainly fine-tuned it and brought it into the mainstream to new heights that had never been accomplished before. What's really interesting about him, first of all, he was born in 1920 and died in 2013, so not that long ago, passed away. He was like one of these original giant nerds that was a fan and went into the industry as a fan doing what he wanted to do, which is an interesting thing that doesn't really seem to happen anymore. There are none of these people that maybe Tarantino being one of the last of this kind of breed of creators. Yeah, that was a super fan that then went into the business himself. So Ray Harryhausen, when he went and saw the original King Kong as a child, was enthralled by this movie and became sort of obsessed with it, to the point where he sought out the creator, Willis O'Brien, who created the stop motion effects for King Kong, and became sort of a disciple of him. He, from all the articles and things you can read, Willis O'Brien was kind to him, but not was told him hey kid, this is good, but you need to work on this a lot. So he went to school, became a professional artist, sculptor, and he went to task, pushing the envelope for what stop motion animation could do for the future. So
you said he was a pioneer, which implies people might come after him, but they didn't. He was kind of the final word, except for maybe someone like Phil Tippett, who maybe could be counted as a successor.
That's a sad reality of the fact that this became, I guess you could call it, an obsolete technology after Ray Harryhausen's career. And he knew when to quit. Basically, by the time Clash of the Titans came out, this was old hat technology that was not going to cut it anymore. And that's a sad reality that just is what it is.
Very true. Well, I don't want to say that in a sort of hopeless way, because I think what you'll find is that people gravitate towards his work still because there is this feeling of handcrafted creativity and inspiration that's behind it that makes it kind of magical, right? Now, I'm not going to be stars in the eyes for this episode. I'm not going to praise him up and down and say he made all my dreams come true and he made my childhood magical. I'm going to be pretty forthright about my feelings about some of this stuff, as well as his art form. But I think we can start with the film The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, which I think it's fair to say was really the kind of breakout movie. Now, you mentioned that Willis O'Brien had gotten his start working. I'm sorry, that Willis O'Brien had given Harryhausen his start. And he did some really good work on Mighty Joe Young, which was kind of, I guess sometimes it gets lumped in as like the second official King Kong sequel, kind of, right? It gets spoken about in the same breath as Son of Kong. From 1949, and there's a lot of really interesting stuff there. And throughout the 50s, Harryhausen worked with O'Brien and then met up with producer Charles Shear to create a lot of science fiction, B-movie, Came From Beneath, the Flying Saucer Men.
Earth versus the Flying Saucer, 20 Million Miles to Earth.
In the Valley of Guanji, which actually I kind of wish I would have watched because it's
that's a later one.
In the modern day. Oh, is it really?
That's in the late 60s, and it's actually quite good.
Really?
It's dinosaurs and cowboys mashed together.
It's kind of a fun idea. Seventh Voyage
of
Sinbad.
Sort of like going to the savage land at a certain point.
Right. So Charles Schneer was the big booster of Harryhausen, loved what he did, saw that there was an audience for it, and really took him to new heights with the color spectacular The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, which follows the adventures of Kerwin Matthews as the Arab pirate Sinbad. I'm not super familiar with like the history of Sinbad. Is he from the Arabian Nights story or something like that?
He is, which I just acquired recently, a copy of 1001 Arabian Nights, a vintage edition, a Cardinal edition. So,
wonderful.
Yeah, these movies actually have inspired me to read a little bit more. So I have the Arabian Nights. I've got
isn't that nice?
The mythology, Greek mythology, and also, which we're not going to talk about, but I did buy Gulliver's Travels, which they did the Three Worlds of Gulliver as a adaptation as well.
Oh, really? Okay. Interesting. We have Strawberry Hill 405 here, who says in the UK, Harryhausen films were Easter Monday staples. They looked good whether you saw them in 1980, 90, or 2000. Okay.
One thing. Oh, sorry. I just want to. We were talking about just Harryhausen in general. I think what's really makes him stand out and makes him so special is the fact that he did all of this on his own, right? There's no 1,000 plus member creative visual effects team. Like when you go to see the new Marvel movie, like Spider-Man Brand New Day, you can sit for 7 to 10 minutes during the credit sequences as the names scroll on and on endlessly for the amount of people who rendered 1 pixel to create Spider-Man's web or something like that, right? This was just one guy who from start to finish created all of the visual effects for the movie. And that is remarkable and impressive no matter what you want to say about it.
That raised a few questions. One that just hits me right off the bat is that I'm surprised there's no kind of celebrity CGI artist team leader, not like a Phil Tippett, but like maybe like a Dennis Murin, who would have been well known and was kind of like a media mouthpiece for George Lucas to go and explain these things to 60 Minutes or whatever. But like, people are all about guys who are the showrunner on a video game. I don't know what the term would be for that, the director, right? But like, I'm surprised there's nobody that's like a high profile guy who runs a CGI team. I guess it just doesn't work that way. They're just all farmed out to be like a big sweatshop. So there's no real creativity, creative direction behind it other than what Marvel gives you. They just say, order up, and you just make it. But John Knoll, that's not a bad. He's another one. I think he's kind of out of the biz now, isn't he?
We saw like, I guess, a continuation of Harryhausen-like figures throughout the 80s and 90s with visual effects artists that became very, very well known to the general public. Someone like a Rick Baker, for instance, with his work on American Werewolf in London all throughout the 80s and 90s. And certainly amongst Star Trek fans, Michael Westmore is very well known and regarded for his makeup effects. But yeah, for computer visual effects, I would be hard pressed to tell you one single name.
Well, the old ILM Lucas people, but other than that, it's kind of done. Right?
But in the modern, like in the current era.
Yeah, in the current era. Well, hey, just to kick this off, I mean, a Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. What are your thoughts?
I liked it a lot. It's actually one of my favorites amongst the four we're going to be talking about, which may shock you. And I know your personal feelings about this, and you were a little cold on it from
It's
what I
okay.
from what I heard.
Yeah.
Um, what's I, I guess you since we're breaking these down, there's very broad categories of these different Harryhausen films. There are the Sinbad films, which are kind of like the grand adventure of a roguish pirate sailing the seven seas. Okay, you have that broad category. Greek mythology is its own kind of category because it's very different than this. And then you have the other films which you talked about, which are like sci-fi, flying saucers, etc. I guess I'm more in tune with this type of adventure film than the Greek mythology, which feels to me always feels a bit weird, like in terms of how ridiculous some of the mythological origins are and such. And the characters are maybe a little bit more stilted and uninteresting.
Yeah, I
Sinbad
mean,
to me. Oh, go ahead.
he Sinbad just goes around like Arabia, and and then
Right.
like encounters monsters on some island, and it's just all kind
Exactly.
of yeah,
It's a very much even in the style of somebody like Indiana Jones. It's the return of the great adventure, adventure for adventure's sake, almost at a certain point where he's going around, he's having adventures for whatever reason, whether that is for profit, as we kind of see in Sinbad or the Golden Voyage of Sinbad, or this one, which is to restore his bride to be to her rightful, size and place, etc. I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that there's a really strong villain in this movie, the evil wizard, who's doing all sorts of nefarious schemes, including, he has a crystal ball filled with red mist. He's creating and reviving skeletons to fight. I know we see that in Jason and the Argonauts one upped, but it's more, I don't know, I feel it is more direct here and more like impactful as a hero versus a villain.
So the first movie I watched out of all of these was The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, which was from 1973 and
Why?
features John Philip Law as Sinbad. And I watched it first because actually I'm working on a video on movies that ripped off Star Wars in the immediate aftermath in the late 70s of the release of that film. And I did a little research into Carolyn Munro because she's obviously the lead of Star Crash, one of the most famous Star Wars ripoffs. And she was in The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, so I watched that one first. I'm not very familiar with Sinbad. I remember there was a cartoon that I didn't see. It came out when we were kids. But, the idea I had in my mind of someone like Sinbad is like, yeah, he's this kind of like mercenary pirate adventurer, right? And I thought in that film, they played that up pretty well, and it was what I expected to see. And in this, I don't know what Sinbad is. He's like a prince, like in Iraq or something, in
Yes.
Arabia, right? He's a prince, and, he's just kind of like a nice guy. I guess he's like a captain of a ship. I found the lead of this film to be, sorely lacking in any kind of charisma or gravitas. The best part of the film is Richard Eyre, the genie, and who was his girlfriend? It was Catherine Crosby, Bing Crosby's future wife in this film. Actually, if you
Yeah.
look at her filmography, it's like absolutely jam packed. She did like 9 movies from like 1955 to 58. Then she met Bing Crosby, and no more movies, no more.
Yeah. Catherine
The money,
Grant, she's listed as here.
cha-ching, yeah. So everything was cool after that. But
So I
I think
think,
it's
oh,
well.
go ahead.
Hold on, I'm harping on the cast. I'm harping on the kind of the weak story because for me, I feel like it's fair to judge these films on their own merits, right? I feel like it's fair to judge it as a film, not just like a special effects reel from Ray Harryhausen with some story like cut into the middle of it, right?
Yeah, and I think the story's
Okay.
fine.
Okay.
What
There's
I
some
think
creative things
Go
in it,
ahead.
like her shrinking down and being in the little box. I really like the bad guy. He drove the train of the whole movie, right? Sinbad just kind of like hanging around, going from mishap to mishap. But I don't know. I
I'm a
found it to be
little I'm a
overall
little
pretty weak.
perturbed. I guess I'm a little confused on what you did not like here.
Well, I thought the main character was boring. I didn't think that it had any kind of like fun Sinbad thrills or anything. I found in this one especially the and I hate to start with this because I have a lot of good things to say about the stop motion animation, but I feel like one of the big problems that we have in these films is that I don't feel like often the characters are the stop motion characters that Harryhausen made are essential to the story. I don't feel like they wrote a script and they're like, damn, we have a Cyclops in it. How are we going to do it? Oh, we'll have Ray Harryhausen do it. I feel like they were like, Ray, what creatures do you want to make? And they wrote the story around it, which maybe is part of the charm for certain fans. But when like all of a sudden we're into the movie, we're doing stuff and it's like, hey, a big egg cracked open and there's like just a two-headed eagle bird in there. And we're going to have a little fight where we kind of hit at it for a while and it moves around and then we'll kill it and then we'll go on to the next thing. Same thing with the Scorpions and Clash of the Titans. I mean, that's my issue with this. And I think this one's the worst offender.
I think you're totally wrong. Okay.
Okay.
I think you're the analogy I was thinking about where this is like you're reading Playboy for the articles here. Okay. This is ridiculous. This is you go to these movies. Yes, you're going to these movies for the creature effects. The more creature effects, the better. I don't care how irrelevant to the story they are. The story is meaningless. The story is to get you from creature to creature to creature. Okay. And I know that's not the best. That's not the best way to appraise a movie here, but it is what it is. Okay. And also, I think the other thing about why you prefer the Golden Voyage of Sinbad, not to speak for you, but my own personal opinion is that you like the 70s sexy kind of Sinbad adventure that happens in that movie. And that's what that is. That is a sexy Sinbad adventure with big busty Carolyn Monroe, flaunting around. Okay. And this one is a very 50s, like tame, conservative movie. And that's kind of more my wheelhouse.
I can see that. I think that might be my internal bias coming out that like this little chaste family adventure movie with, Wonder Bread Sinbad and his like, girlfriend off the set of fucking Archie comics or running around, in Arabia. And not that like that bothers me. I'm not saying that they needed to get, Omar Sharif to play Sinbad. I'm not saying that, but like, I don't know. I just found him pretty weak, honestly. And I found the two Sultan dads that are like, we're going to be united. And then like the princess shrinks and it's like, wouldn't you blame the evil wizard for this? And they don't. They're just like, evil wizard, what should we do? Oh, we got to go. No, I don't. I thought the Cyclops is great. It's fantastic, right? It's very cool. But it's not enough. And I push back on you against that Playboy for the articles analogy, which is really good because I thought the other three films we watched were actually were pretty good, right?
Okay.
So I thought they work on their own as movies, right? And like I said, I'm not Ray Harryhausen didn't make my dreams come true as a kid. I have a lot of respect for what he does, but I'm not going to go through this with rose-colored glasses and say he changed movies and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, sure. No, and nor do I. I'm not, this is not any kind of childhood nostalgia for me whatsoever. I think I saw these movies for the first time when I was in college. So I'm not, I don't have any rose-colored glasses for this either. But
there's a lot,
this is something that like I very much enjoy.
There's a lot to appreciate. Absolutely. Right. And that's kind of tough for an enjoyment of a movie, which is like, I appreciated it. Right. I want to like it too, but what other thoughts do you have on Seventh Voyage of Sinbad?
First of all, the Bernard Herrmann score literally like punches you in the face in the immediate opening credits, which is amazing. It's a great, great, thrilling, adventurous score. So that it has going for it as well. I thought it's better than the Jason and the Argonauts score, which he also did. So there's that. I just like the whole mythology aspect of it in terms of like this type of mythology, the genie of the lamp, the evil wizard, shrinking princesses, cyclopses that are roasting sailors on a pike, to eat them. That appeals to me more than the other kind of mythological creatures we're going to see in some of the other movies. And so that, I guess, appealed to me more, the Aladdin kind of aspect to it.
Did you like the little tiny Hasbullah kid genie?
Yeah, he was cool. And they go into the lamp, which is cool. And it's a very kind of like pre-psychedelic set where there's mist, different colored pink mist floating around. And the princess and the genie have a little chat. And they have a little, phrase to summon the genie, which is, if you recall, it's from the land beyond, beyond, from the world past hope and fear. I bid you, genie, now appear. So that to me is like almost like Hanna-Barbera action adventure cartoon stuff, which is probably why this speaks to me a little bit more.
I think that makes total sense when you put it that way. And by the way, I don't want to be, another movie that's like I impugn this film for being, which is like we keep walking to the next, stop motion fight. King Kong is very much that way, right? However, King Kong is a much more indelible picture with a lot more going on, right?
Yeah.
And it's not as, it doesn't feel as like contrived and episodic as some of the stuff here, right? Now, that being said, I really like the Cyclops. The Skeleton Warrior is fantastic. If there's anything you could say for Harryhausen, the Skeleton Warriors still look fantastic and phenomenal in this film and in Argonauts. But
they definitely hold up the most because, I guess it's I don't want to use the word dated at all, but the way the aesthetic design for the creatures is a very old-fashioned way of drawing those types of creatures. And skeletons, there's not any way to update or post-date them. There's just skeletons are skeletons. So I think it holds up the most for what we expect as a way something would look. Even in a modern movie, the skeletons would look the same. Now, I prefer the way the Cyclops and all these other creatures look with their, idiosyncrasies from this time period. But it's I think that's probably why the skeletons look so good, is that there's nothing that you would do different now compared to then.
I would say, I'm not sure if you're done talking about this, but to use Jason and the Argonauts as an example, the best creature effect in that film is the giant bronze statue that comes alive, right?
Yeah.
And now I think that film, that sequence of the bronze statue is more effective than anything in this movie because it actually works as a scene, right? We have two characters, Hercules and the other guy, that are, crewmates of Jason's on the journey to find the Golden Fleece. And they walk into this like mysterious valley on what they thought was an abandoned island. And there are these massive statues. And underneath in the base, there's just tombs of treasure filled with gold. And Bernard Herrmann's score is like delightfully eerie and beautiful in this moment. And it almost felt like something that Peter Jackson ripped, for Lord of the Rings. You feel the grandeur of like this epic myth and something that's older than time or created by the gods. And then when the statue subtly moves and then the giant brass, a bronze monster comes and confronts the crew, you feel like you have a satisfying first, second, and third act of the experience of the monster. It's not just something that it was happened upon and then we stab it a bunch of times and then we're on to the next thing. Do you know what I mean? It works very, very well as a sequence unto itself.
I agree, and I think all the humanoid creatures have a very much different quality to them that makes them more appealing than the biped creatures that we see, or quadruped creatures, I guess you would call it. There's something that makes them feel more real. They have a more tangible quality that you can like relate to. Rather, I guess they feel more realistic, right? Than a like centaur or a cyclops,
Yeah, or anything with fur, anytime it's like a metal thing or a skeleton or something that lacks flesh, right? It like works better and it was more impressive. But do you want to move on to Jason and the Argonauts, or do you want to keep talking about Seventh Voyage of Sinbad? Do you have anything else on Seventh Voyage?
My hair's getting all messed up here. Sorry.
It looks good, brother. Hey, 1001
I'm
Johnny,
like sweating
$5.
so
Thank
much
you
here.
very much. Thank you so much. I didn't grow up with a lot of Harryhausen, but I saw Jat Argo recently and saw that Galactus bleeds like Talos in Fantastic Four. What was that called? The
First Steps?
Yeah, the new one. Yeah. Is that right?
I don't remember what they do to Galactus in that movie.
Out of his foot, and he starts bleeding all of his, essence or whatever.
Is that what happens in Fantastic Four? I don't recall at all.
I don't remember. Yeah, maybe. Well, that's a nice little shout out.
I think for Sinbad, that's all I have, pretty much.
Yeah. I think that there's a reason that Jason and the Argonauts is the one that's cited as the real, I think that one might be the masterpiece if you were to tell someone to watch a Ray Harryhausen film in the kind of prime essence of what he symbolizes. The platonic ideal of the Harryhausen movie is Jason and the Argonauts. It takes all the best elements of some of his work in the 50s, as well as basically setting the tone for what his career would be. Because something else I will argue as we go on is that, I don't think he ever, in certain minor ways, but I don't think he really topped himself after this. which is something that's kind of frustrating to me about him. But
Would you not say that Clash of the Titans it tops Jason and the Argonauts?
I think it's a better movie. Yeah, I think it's a more enjoyable. I like it a lot, but I think that Jason and the Argonauts is probably the one that you should watch if you could tell someone to watch one of them and get the idea, right?
I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of torn between the two if I had to make that decision between
Okay.
Jason and the Argonauts and Clash of the Titans. Clash of the Titans might be a little bit more of a
It's
more
a
approachable
prestige.
movie.
Yeah, and it's a prestige effort. It's kind of like they knew it was going to be his last picture. So, hey, the costumes get a budget. We get great sets. We have some
Movie
name
stars.
movie stars. Um, it's a more mainstream kind of thing, right?
Yeah, but we're getting ahead of ourselves here. So back to Jason and the Argonauts. So why
Yeah,
do you like this movie so much?
I don't. I just
Oh,
I
you
thought that
don't?
no, it was okay. I mean, it was fine.
Wow.
I mean, dude,
It's okay.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't thrilled. I was kind of, just watching and I was like, yeah, okay, I can appreciate this for what it is, right? But, again, we get a lot of and I get it. This is the real basis of these kind of like Greek myths, and if you read the Odyssey or something like that, which I have, it's like it is this kind of thing where you go from this to that to this to that. Nolan's movie is sort of like this too. But by the time he's going through the big moat and the rocks are collapsing, and we have some big dude get up with a mermaid thing on and like hold the rocks back, I was like,
I love that part. I love that they
you
didn't make it a stop motion creature. It's just some guy in
just
a
some
thing.
guy, yeah, holding
Some
the, and
old
then
dude with a
some.
beard holding the rocks back for them.
There's a great documentary. We watched a documentary that Leonard Nimoy did on Harryhausen where he discusses his
And he
career.
narrated, yes.
And he narrated. It's really good. There's another really good documentary too on model making if you guys are interested, and it's called Sense of Scale, and it brings in a lot of the ILM people too. And they talked about one thing that really frustrates me with a lot of these movies is the scale of the water, and there's lots of water in these, right? Water is water, right? So when you splash it and it comes up over the boat, you're like, that's not what water looks like. It would be more dispersed, right? And actually, Dennis Muren cracked this in the 80s with Temple of Doom. And he realized what you had to do was not CGI. It had nothing to do with optical effects. It was just that when you had your model, you had to shoot an absolute ton of water into it and then blow opposite at it a giant high pressurized air cannon, which would atomize the water more to where it would look realistic with scale, right? And it took him to the 80s to figure that out. But that's why the flood in Temple of Doom through the tunnel looks so good, right? But no, I did enjoy this. I don't want to say I didn't. I thought it was appealing. I thought it was fun. I thought some of the special effects were really fantastic. The skeleton army, obviously incredible. When Jason's fighting them and some of the soldiers are fighting and they flip a skeleton over their back, I think the way that the human actors interact with those characters is the best he'd ever done, right? It's the best sequence of his career, right?
I think it's fair to say the Jason fight with the multiple skeleton army is probably the triumph of Harryhausen's career. Like no
100%.
matter what you think of any movie maybe being superior to this one in total, the the multi-skeleton fight is still like the top Harryhausen scene ever created. I think that's fair to say.
It's unbelievable. Why do you suppose Harryhausen never went down the path of making a fully stop motion animated movie? Was that just not something that was in the cards for him at the time to do? Did he? Do you think
I
he
don't think that
enjoyed
was
the?
viable in any way,
Yeah,
financially or artistically. Like, unless you were going to do something that was purely, I guess he was trying to do that in the 40s when he was doing this thing called Evolution. That was a project that he abandoned, where it was supposed to be like just dinosaurs fighting for the entire time. But he abandoned it because he went to go work on Mighty Joe Young, and also because Disney's Fantasia did something similar to it, apparently. I don't remember Fantasia at all. I haven't seen it in ages, so I couldn't tell you. But there's that. And also, I think it's just unviable for one man to animate the entire freaking movie.
well, didn't Phil Tippett do that with Mad God, or maybe he had a team? But like, also, I wonder if he had a team or brought somebody on to work with him. Maybe it would have been, But I
Yeah.
remember watching a documentary on Phil Tippett, and he basically had like crippling anxiety and depression, and the only thing he could do to like stay his roving depressed mind was to go and make his little deal. He talks about how very soothing it was for his mental health to just like focus on manipulating these little creatures, and in that time period he was like free and felt, totally engaged and didn't want to blow his own head off, basically. But I wonder what his work would have been had he, because he clearly has an artistic style, right? Which you talked about earlier as feeling cartoony or not realistic, right? Especially to modern eyes. And had he been able to be let loose, because he was an artist and he would also draw all the concept arts for these characters and paint them, right? So I wish he could have been unleashed to have his own stop motion world. But
I agree. And I think that cartooniness has its own inherent charm that adds to these movies' feeling of disbelief. And that's something that's been lost, I think, in the last 20, 30 years, where we've tried to make everything the most realistic possible. And I'm certainly in favor of that for certain things. But I think for other instances like this, for instance, it has a more warmth to it than a cold, barren CG landscape of 2010 Clash of the Titans, for instance. So there's that. I want to get back to this movie, though. This movie, despite all that's good about it, it leaves me cold compared to Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, which I was a big defender of. And I think I feel more towards Jason and the Argonauts like you did about Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. And I think that's also because, for me, you weren't a big fan of Kerwin Matthews, but he's a lot more charismatic. He's got a lot more juice going for him than Todd Armstrong as Jason.
Do you think so?
I do think so. Todd Armstrong is probably the stiffest, least charismatic leading man for any of these movies. I mean, definitely who's the sexy Sinbad in John, what's his name? Shoot.
Oh, John Philip Law.
John Philip Law is definitely number one, then Harry Hamlin, then Kerwin, then Todd's at the bottom. Sorry, no offense, Todd. But he didn't have anything going for him, in my opinion. Also, the whole idea, I kept trying to I watched it twice and I was like, why exactly do they need the golden fleece other than it is an impressive task and that's going to do something? How is that going to liberate the kingdom exactly?
I don't recall, but I know the gods told him he had to do it. So what are you going to do? Say no?
But did the gods tell him to do it? Or
something like that. The gods wanted him to have the golden fleece or something. And by the way, I think that our poor friend Todd Armstrong, who really, boy, he got to be the lead in this. And after that, it was fucking over for him. It's too bad.
And
right?
Poor guy I believe he committed suicide at some point later on.
Oh, God.
Yeah, poor guy. R.I.P.
But I thought that they endeavored to actually make him look like he was someone from the old Greek days. He had a beard and kind of this Caesar haircut. Whereas our dude from Seventh Voyage of Sinbad just looks like, he could have been a B Western guy too. They just put him in a different costume.
Exactly.
Right?
But that's the tradition of those costume dramas from the 40s, 50s, 60s, where it's just play acting in, wonderful costumes. There's a movie called.
I think that's true. Look at a movie like Cleopatra or something like The Robe or Ben-Hur. Those are movies where they endeavor to make it feel realistic. Now, is it realistic by today's standards? No, but they endeavored to make it not a complete jump.
Oh yeah, where you have Vincent Price in the Ten Commandments, with his transatlantic accent, and Edward G. Robinson, I don't know if he actually says, where's your Messiah now? But it's something along the lines of that. There's a movie called The Magic Carpet, by the way, which is an Arabian Nights movie with Lucille Ball in color with her flaming red hair as a Middle Eastern princess or whatever. So that's the kind of level of disbelief and ridiculousness that I look for in these types of movies to make them more fun.
Okay. No, they are fun and they're fine. I just, it's just not. But no, go ahead.
Shout out to Honor Blackman in her role in this movie.
Oh, what is she?
Honor, she plays Hera.
Oh, wasn't she in Goldfinger?
She's Goldfinger. She's Pussy Galore from Goldfinger.
Yeah, she's Goldfinger. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
She was the good god. Okay, all right. That was looking after her.
Yeah, she was Hera, the good goddess.
Okay, yeah.
Protector for Jason.
Got it. No, No, I for the most part, I like this movie. I thought there was the thing I like too is a little visual variety. Yeah, we can have Harryhausen's creatures, but we can also have guys fight each other. We can mix it up. You know, it doesn't just have to be all creatures all the time.
Hey, Sinbad had that. Sinbad had the mutiny on the pirate ship. It had other people fighting each other.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Also, this movie, modern movie making would have a fit with this for what two things that they do. Number one, Hercules just gets written out of the movie midway for no reason, so people would lose their shit nowadays about that. And two, it ends after they get the golden fleece, and people would be like, "Well, I don't understand. Did they make it back? What did they do afterwards?" It's like the Marvel movie would have to have 9 different more endings added on, post-credit sequences.
Epilogue. It's a
Epilogue
nice
times 2.
No, they get that golden fleece, and he gets the skeletons gone, and he jumps off a cliff, and they are out of there, brother. It's over, right?
I guess they were trying to make they were going to make a sequel, but they never did because Zeus is like, well, I have many more adventures planned for Jason.
Yeah, that would have been fun, and also, you know, could have helped out Todd Armstrong a little bit. And but I like that part where Hercules and the other guy just had to like go away because the gods have other plans for them. I was like, is this based on something? Because that sounds like something very like that would totally happen in like a Homer poem or something. That he's just gone. He's got to go do something else, you know. But
I don't recall.
I like that character.
I'll consult the book though.
I love that guy who played Hercules in the movie too. I thought he was great. I thought he was a very unusual looking guy for the time, right, with a big giant ass beard
and I think they made a conscious decision not to have super bodybuilder type people like they were doing with contemporary the European movies that they were making at the time, like the Steve Reeves Hercules and all those movies like that, where they were trying to make it a little bit different than those.
Okay.
In terms of casting choices.
Okay. What else you got, brother? I'm all cooked. I'm out of steam on Jason the Argonauts, man.
Did you enjoy the Hydra?
No.
Really?
No, I thought it was just too much. It was just more stuff. You know, it was just like, and the Hydra's like,
yeah, that's impressive though.
Yeah, it was impressive. It was impressive, right? And I'm sitting there going, that would have been really hard to animate. That would have been hard to do.
Imagine sitting in your
theory of
basement.
Value. What?
Yeah. Imagine sitting in your basement animating Hydra heads as you're trying to remember which way they're going back and forth.
I know. And you're doing it with all the love in the world. And you're doing it so that little children will be thrilled and excited. And you're slaving away doing your beautiful art only so that some millennial douchebag can shit on it in 50 years. Right? I get it.
Like,
I'm sorry.
Excuse me, sir. It's not impressive. And it's like, yes,
know,
it is.
But like what my thing is look, Ray Harryhausen did a lot of great stuff. I do get tired of, here's the monster, and then someone going and never landing a hit because it's very difficult to integrate the live action footage and the monster, right? So it's just kind of like everyone's swiping at the thing, swiping at it.
They do connect. To be fair, I think in the next two that we're going to talk about, the progression of the technology allows for a greater integration of the effects to make contact more with the live actors. And it's something, I mean, we're talking about movies from 1963 and 1958 where technology, he was creating it as he went along, basically.
Yeah,
so
sure.
The fact that these are as good as they are is a testament to how creative they had to be. I mean, and I've watched multiple things to try and explain how exactly they integrate the stop motion with the live action. And to me, it just makes my brain hurt as you talk about mats and double exposures and all these things. And it's extremely complicated, and it's amazing that they were able to do it back then.
It is amazing. And I would watch it. And the thing that people will notice too, that does take you out of the thing, you know what I mean, is that, so you've got your plate of your original camera shot of the live action characters, right? And then Harryhausen, something I don't think he gets a whole lot of credit for that he probably does deserve, is not just the monsters, but that he is able to create a fake little environment for the character to act upon that matches the frame, right? So there's never a problem with lighting, right? Somehow he always matches the lighting up correctly on like the ground. Because if you have a piece here and you've got our little friend Jason over in the corner, and then you have the big monster here, he has to cut down basically he has to cut out the other half of the frame, composite another photograph on the other side, right? And the ground has to match. The background has to match. And he does a tremendous job of that. Now, the only downside is just a limit of the technology of the time, is that when you make a second copy of that first generation shot of the live action character, it goes down a generation, as they say, right? It loses color, it loses quality, it loses focus. So the creature is always more prominent in kind of a distracting way, and the original footage looks kind of fuzzy, right? But that was just a limit of the optical printing of the time, of merging two images together. But for the most part, he does a really good job with, the transition.
Am I correct in that at least for these original, for the older ones, they're using rear projection too? He would rear project the original footage in background, put his models in front, and then black out certain parts onto he would have a piece of glass apparently in front of between the camera and the actual puppets. And that's how you would create the illusion that the puppets were in between certain parts of the frame.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't shock me. And that would be something he would have learned from Walt Disney, who did that with Snow White. And he was the first guy to do a multi-plane camera of 7 depths of field, basically, right?
Yeah.
So you got a little flower up here. You got, this is the main part, rabbits back here, right? So he would... Disney on Snow White would shoot through 7 planes of glass that were essentially frames, right? That all together looked like one thing with the illusion of depth. So yeah, I can see him doing that. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it also impairs the film quality for modern releases, in that I was surprised to see that there is a 4K release of the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, and I'd be curious to see what it looks like because I don't have that one. But I can't imagine that it is that much better than what we're seeing on Blu-ray, because the film, the negative, is going to have maybe the skeletons or the creatures will look good, but the background is still going to look like trash.
Yes. The only thing that we could do is if you had the original negative of the special effects and just simply the live action shots, you could use a computer to merge them together and not have the degradation of quality of the live action shots. And if somebody could do that, that would be an incredible thing to see. Right.
I bet those do not exist, though.
I bet they don't. I bet all we have is
the way that they were able to do some, the way you just described it is how they remastered Star Trek: The Next Generation. In that, even though it was mastered on videotape, I believe, they were able to all the original elements were on film, but because the models were shot on blue or green screen separately from the actual live action shots and all that, they were able then to reintegrate them all together and master them in high def. This, I bet they shot it, the model shots were shot with the rear projection, bad quality footage in the background. And that's all there is.
I had a conversation with a layman person that was into movies, but not as much as us, right? And they were like, well, why would I buy a 4K of Casablanca? They didn't have 4K back then, right? And I'm like, no, they did, because 35 millimeter film is inherently an 8K resolution, right? So the only thing that you see that seems like a quality dip in focus or whatever are the lens quality at the time, right? That it's you could, you know what I'm saying? Right?
Yes.
I mean, you know what I'm talking about. This is chat, know what I'm, yeah, exactly. So,
in fact, I think older movies from that time period look better than modern movies in 4K.
Yeah, look fantastic.
A modern movie, you watch it on Blu-ray and it's going to be probably just as good as the 4K. I mean, there are certain exceptions, but these older movies from the 40s, 30s. I mean, when you watch Dracula, Frankenstein on 4K, it leaps and bounds better than anything you're ever going to see, even on a Blu-ray.
Criterion does such a good job with this, especially with some of the older Hitchcock releases. I got what do they have on? I mean, maybe I'm just thinking the Blu-ray, but the Blu-ray of The Lady Vanishes. It just looks phenomenal. They preserve all that film grain and everything. It just looks pristine and beautiful. It has such rich texture.
I got to get that one.
Yeah.
Well, going back to the idea that you denied Harryhausen as the auteur of these movies, and said the director was probably still more important than he was. And the part I wanted to challenge on that was that when they are directing, he was essentially directing all of the scenes where any incorporation of a special effect was going to be put in. And for these movies,
Yep.
that's the majority of the scenes. So he is telling the director where to place the camera, or where to do, how the actors should react and act with the imaginary creatures. So in fact, at one point there was a director who thought he was more important than Harryhausen and wanted him to be fired from the movie. And Charles Schneer told him to like get lost.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. No, I did hear that he did direct like the sequence in Jason and the Argonauts with the skeletons. He was like, all right, hold up. Which also shows like what a complex, like amazing mind he had for organization, to be able to understand in his mind where things would be, how they needed to be filmed, how it should cut together. Right? I mean, that's incredibly impressive. Yeah, hands down, the skeleton sequence of this movie is the best thing he has done. The second being, I guess I could reveal. I mean, the second best thing he's ever done is the Medusa in Clash of the Titans. But
yes, very, very, I agree. Now, do you prefer Jason compared to Sinbad? At least Sinbad 1.0.
I thought this movie had a little bit more verve and vibe. I felt like they were actually on an adventure. It felt like it had some, like I just liked it more. I thought the girl was exotic and hot, and I liked when they went to the, her kingdom, and everyone was kind of weird and creepy, and there was the bad guy, and I liked the when she's in the dungeon, how that was lit. I was excited. I was like, oh yeah, break the princess out. Everything in Seventh Voyage of Sinbad is just too cornball goofy for me, and I get it. That's part of the charm that you like in the 70s, but it was just
in the 50s.
50s, sorry. Yeah. Give me some 70s stuff here, and we have it with Golden Voyage of Sinbad. Just got a little bit of an edge.
Got to add that sex appeal. It's the 70s now.
Yeah, but also you have a fully realized fun character in John Philip Law who plays Sinbad. You like Sinbad. You think he's cool and interesting, right?
I agree. I like this movie a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was like great. You want good things to happen to Sinbad. You want him to get the girl. I could give a shit what, John Philip Law, if he got the golden goat or not, I mean,
if he got the what?
The golden goat, the golden fleece, whatever.
That was Jason, not John Philip Law. John Philip Law is this movie.
Oh, yeah. Which, by the way,
that was Todd Armstrong. Todd Armstrong, R.I.P.
Yeah. No, I thought, what was I going to say?
Caroline Munro.
Train of thoughts. Yeah, no, she's great. She's super hot. She's fun, right? But
as the slave girl,
As the slave girl. Oh, I was going to say, I just watched another John Philip Law movie recently. Danger Diabolique, the Mario Bava picture, the adaptation of the Italian comic book. Fantastic. John Philip Law is dope in that movie. Great movie. If you guys haven't seen Danger Diabolique, go watch it right now. But here's another good John Philip Law picture.
Had this movie been made today, because these are Sinbad the Sailor, Jason, Greek mythology, all these characters. They're I guess the equivalent of our modern day superheroes, even though those characters existed at this point when these movies were made, but they weren't adapted into cinema. People today would claim, "Oh, the Golden Voyage of Sinbad is just another Sinbad adventure. Oh, who needs that? Villain of the week. Who cares?" And it's like, no, this is a really, really great, fun, adventurous, thrilling movie, and it's something to be appreciated there.
It's got a lot of nice combination of thrills. I thought I had a great villain also in the weird magician and his little goblin guy. I thought
the homunculus,
the homunculus, which is animated to death. Cut to the homunculus walking around. I'm like, we don't need that much homunculus. There's a great sequence in which there's a man wearing a golden mask. He's the king of the wherever, and he's been burned horribly, so he wears a golden mask. Another interesting character. I can count the amount of interesting characters on more than one finger in this movie compared to the other ones, right? And he's explaining all the intricacies of what Sinbad's voyage is going to be. And they're in this beautiful catacomb set where there's like a map of the world, and it looks really phenomenal. And then we cut to the little homunculus, and he's walking around. He's a little dragon bat creature. Cut back to him every 2 seconds, and I was like, cut it, man. But I thought this movie did have a good, I think Ray Harryhausen's effects work better sparingly. Do you know what I mean?
No.
I get that. Okay, you don't think that's true?
Continue, though.
They work better when you have to wait and anticipate them, and there's not just one every 2 seconds, right? No,
You got to space it out throughout the movie, though. You gotta give the audience what they want.
That's my real question when I was watching these two, because once you get into the 70s, the technology would have been old hat then, right? I mean, people would have looked at it and been like, that looks kind of dated, right? So I guess I'm curious, were the people coming to see this movie? I mean, this is 1973, right? So you could have feasibly had people who were like 30 in the 70s being like, oh, I'm going to go see that because I loved watching Golden Voyage of Sinbad when I was 10, right? He was doing, is this a nostalgia market movie? Is this, what is, you know what I mean?
I think this is very much akin to when we talk about Hammer movies that were still being made in the 70s, that they are old-fashioned and past their prime at that point, but they're still being made because they still think that's where the money's at, right?
Or there was still an audience for it. I mean, this movie made
There
money.
was. I think there was. But
Is
is this a movie? This is a curious point you make. Is this a movie for children or for adults? Because if it's for children, it's kind of like a little too bit. It's a little steamy here and there. You know, it's a little bit more adult than the previous versions, but it's not really an adult movie by any means or any standard.
I think it's a movie for the Starlog magazine reader.
Yeah.
Right? The science fiction and movie makeup monster effect fan. Right?
I agree. I think that's a good point.
You know?
I liked that you mentioned it, that the amplification of the pulpier aspects of the legends are put to the forefront here. And, exotic locations, the monsters, especially the Vizier, who's got the Doctor Doom style mask and he's all disfigured underneath of it.
Yeah.
And then adding in. Yeah. I thought the villain, though, was not as compelling as the whatever his name was in Seventh Voyage. I like him the most.
No, not at all. Yeah, that guy was fantastic. You could tell he was like some kind of, a frustrated Shakespearean actor who was just chewing up scenery and like taking having a lot of fun screwing around with Sinbad, right?
He was a Dr. Zinn-like character, and I loved his stilted speech and vocal patterns that were ridiculous.
In fact, I was just reaching for a Dr. Zinn, but I forgot to put him over by my desk. Now I'm just suffering through the rest of this podcast. I like this villain because I thought that was kind of a cool hook where every time he used his magic power, he had to cut himself and bleed onto the scary monster. And then, he kind of aged visibly more and more throughout the film as he used his evil dark magic. I thought that was fun.
Now, you were not a big fan of the climactic fight with the Griffin and the Centaur. Is that correct?
Okay, we get to the end of the film, right? We're all looking to put the necklace into the magic fountain of youth. That's what we're doing the whole movie, right? We get to the mysterious island. It's a very Indiana Jones style race to get to the end of the place to activate the special MacGuffin so that something magical will happen, right? It's a race between the bad guys. They come into a hurdle. The hurdle is all of these natives that are painted green, which I thought great production design, really unique, fun. They have a battle with the natives, right? A sword fight. Everyone's flipping around, falling into pits, whatever. A little visual variety in the action. You know what I mean? We're getting a full course meal here. We're getting special effect, Ray Harryhausen, stop motion people. We're getting some nice fights. We're getting some laughs. It's a good thing, right? We get a really impressive creation from Harryhausen. It's the Kali. It's like this 6-armed Buddha Indian thing. I don't know what it is. The Kali, right? And it's this statue that comes to life, looks fantastic, and it's got 6 arms. And I think you're right. They do a really good job of having John Philip Law and some of the other people actually cross swords with this character, right? And it's a really wonderful battle. And then they defeat the Kali, right? Okay, fine. Get to the end, go to the fountain. But no, we got to fall down a pit. And then there's a centaur Cyclops that comes in and kidnaps Carolyn Monroe, and it goes to the final battle. And then all of our heroes stand back and watch as a griffin fights this thing. And I'm watching it, and I'm like, why is this happening? You know what I mean? I'm like, what is going, why is there a griffin? What is the purpose? And then we have a character conveniently saying, this is the final battle between good and evil, right? And you're like, oh, the Griffin is like the spirit of goodness or something, and the Cyclops. I didn't know who we were supposed to want to win.
The
You know what I
Griffin,
mean?
obviously.
But I didn't know Harryhausen. He loved all of his little creatures, and he
Well,
said so in interviews. And we have this pathetic, tragic-looking Cyclops with a big eye, and I'm like, do we like him or do we like the Griffin?
If the Cyclops captured Caroline Munro, he's obviously bad.
Well, King Kong captured Fay Ray, but we all like King Kong.
Yeah, but different. That's different though.
Okay, but I didn't understand what I
He
was.
did that for love. King Kong did that for love. Okay.
Okay, well, we didn't get to know the Cyclops well, but like I'm watching this Griffin and the Cyclops fight, and I'm like, what is this? Do you know what I mean? I go, we just had a great Kali, 6-armed fighting statue that looked great. Then we had a big fight with the natives. We all fell down a pit. Time to wrap it up. You know,
George, you're denying the fans what they want. Okay.
I guess, man. I guess I appreciate these special effects when they serve the story. That's what we always talk about as movie fans. Like, oh, the CGI and the special effects have to serve the story. You can't make the whole movie a special effect. Well, these are, but like it gets a pass because we all love Ray Harryhausen, and he's such a gentle old soul who tinkered away in his shed making these beautiful little creatures, right? And so it's, I don't know. Because I feel like there are elements of these movies that are good. And that was the one thing that frustrated me about watching it, was I was like, no one ever really talks about whether or not these movies are any good. You know, and I think that they had the ability to be good, as we see in Clash of the Titans and Golden Voyage of Sinbad. But I feel like some of them are undercut by just being a showcase for special effects. King Kong is not that.
Yeah, I see your point. I just disagree with how much fun these movies are. And I think the difference is, and I don't want to be a hypocrite because I've certainly echoed that same sentiment with modern movies time and again. However, I think the difference is that these are so special and so unique for their time period that there is nothing else like them that was contemporary at all. So it is they are unique specimens that exist on their own. And so the inclination to kind of relish in them and relish in every creature fight and exploit it as much as possible is what makes these movies memorable and last throughout time.
I think you summed up your position very well. I think that's a good way to put it. That these are unique, right? Because that's something else I thought about. Was I was like, these movies were successful, but there was nobody else that was like, hey, we need to find a stop motion guy and make one of these stop motion pictures. He had the corner on the market here,
It's not like watching Star Wars, Mandalorian and Grogu and Spider-Man Brand New Day, and you're like, wow, I've never seen anything like that before. And there's no one else making movies like this. Every movie is like that now.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I like this movie a lot. I like it. It's good to have variation in terms of like the style of the decade, et cetera,
Yeah, which is what we tried to do, right? I don't know if we missed anything that was really good and we skipped over something. And I don't know if Golden Voyage of Sinbad was maybe the best one to pick, but I thought it was a pretty solid, good movie. I was interested to see what he was up to in the 70s. Because I think
I did not watch. Did you watch Sinbad in the Eye of the Tiger by any chance? I did not.
No, with Patrick Wayne. John Wayne's son plays Sinbad in that.
Yeah, I'd like to watch that one just to see, because no offense, but I'm sure it was not the one that Harryhausen wanted to end his career with by any means. Because it's just disposable, right? Clash of the Titans is the way to go out on a bang.
And what do you think precipitated the creation of Clash of the Titans as being like a prestige effort, which it was, right?
I tried to look that up, and I watched a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. There was nothing quite like special about why they decided to do this or why they were able to do it, but it was just, I guess, fortuitous timing, or they were able to get the funding from somebody.
Do you suppose that Harryhausen planned this as his final movie?
I guess so. There's no evidence or interviews that I've seen about why he chose this to be the last one or why he came back for one more. I mean, I'd be happy to read some of that, but yeah, I don't know.
So he made this film in 1981. Then he retired, basically. Is that correct? And then he was still around until 2013. What do you suppose he did with himself?
He set up a foundation, I believe, that had all of his creations in it, and I don't know how he made money for the rest of his life. Maybe he did something else, but I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, he was 92. So I guess he would have been like 65. When he made this, right?
Yeah, he was
And I
born in
think
1920.
okay.
Yes, 1920. So he was 61, right?
Okay. Yeah,
Am I
I
doing that
guess that
math
makes
right?
sense. No, I think this movie is entertaining, fun. I like our characters. It's not. I'm not going to tell you this is Raiders of the Lost Ark type material, which it premiered against at the time. Still a big hit, one of the biggest hits of the year. Which I was just kind of surprised by that. I'm like, was this just a lot of kids coming? And in 1981, I know stop motion was still viable. Lucas uses stop motion in Empire Strikes Back, right? People were still doing it, but to draw attention to it like they do in this film is very unique, right, for the 80s.
Yeah, that's the part that kind of puzzled me the most. Is that from what I was reading, is that this obviously stop motion was becoming obsolete because of the advancement in animatronics and puppet technology that was changing the way the special effects were created. But stop motion was still used widely throughout the 80s with movies like RoboCop,
Yeah.
even The Terminator, Beetlejuice, so very high profile movies that were using stop motion. So I'm just curious why it was so like taboo that they just I think the other big reason is that we were transitioning into this time period where the entire movie making industry was a more collaborative thing. You could not get away with doing a Harryhausen solo venture where he's creating all the special effects on his own anymore. This is just not going to fly. I think that's also
That's
part of the thing.
No, that's a fair point. But to him being obsolete by 81, that's not totally true because no one had come up with a better way to do a Kraken. That wouldn't happen until 1993. He wouldn't have been officially obsolete till Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah.
So they just went without because people started to say that doesn't look real, but we have nothing better to replace it with, but it's over,
Fair point. I don't know.
It's just too
Changing
bad.
times, though, changing
Yeah, changing
opinions
the
and attitudes.
attitudes, yeah. Because there are a lot of things in this movie that really look fantastic. The Pegasus is a wonderful creation, and even though the matte work to include it in the film doesn't always look great, you can look at the artistry of Harryhausen to be able to animate a horse. It looks like a horse, right? It looks like it's moving like a horse. It's really cool. And in this film, he does things like, rather than just giving us a straight-on shot, character on one end of the frame, monster on the other, we get integration where he's animating the top of the horse's head as someone sits on it, right? We're getting different angles of the stop motion. So he's stretching a lot here. The one that's been pointed to a lot is the Medusa, which is not just a great character design, but he also set the scene in a chamber of flickering firelight, which is like such an insane task to animate at 24 frames a second and then also keep track of the lighting scheme on the character and have it match with the room. That's just like unbelievable. And that's the best sequence in the movie too, by the way, is the killing of the Medusa, I would say.
No, I agree. It's impressive. I guess the other thing is budgetary concerns. This is a much more higher budget movie compared to all the rest. It's reflective in the way that it looks. It looks much better than all the other movies. It's also that what's sad about the fact that he retired after this is that you see, like, I guess the full realization at this point of how good the technology could look when integrated into the world of the film, with more money and perhaps if he had some assistance to help him, these would have looked even better and the technology could have progressed further and further, along.
Yeah, because the horse looks tremendous. Like the scene in which our Pericles, or what's his name, the kid, the main
Perseus,
like is roping the horse. Looks great. It's phenomenal. There are some things that don't look as good. The giant vulture looks cartoony and kind of out of place. Scorpions are a little much, right? But there's still a lot of great stuff.
What's weird to me is that I like the part that they are integrating more, I guess, like latex masks and stuff for the characters for that one. I don't know what his name was, that like goblin guy that
Yeah,
with the
he
ring
was like
finger. It's a
he was a
guy with
human.
like with the prosthetic makeup, which looks great.
I thought that was really interesting. He's this kind of I don't even know what you'd call it. He has like kind of like weird hind legs, like a like I don't know, what a
I mean,
centaur, I guess, or what do you call that? I'm not. He's some kind of cryptid creature, but like it's a human being in a latex mask playing the top when we close up, but then in long shots, he's walking around on his hooves like he's some kind of imp, right? That was
but
an interesting thing.
they combined the human aspect of having a guy in latex mask for close-ups with stop motion for the long shots, which was very strange. Different something that we hadn't seen before.
Another thing too that we hadn't seen before that was new was him moving the camera while the creature moves, right? Which is something I don't believe he had ever really attempted before, right? It's usually a lockdown shot. But for this, we pan up as the creature stands in the corner and he's moving, which, adds to a sense of realism, right?
It does, but it's much harder to do, much more time consuming, much more costly.
Yeah.
And so that's
Have a
the
team,
limitations of the stop motion.
Yeah. Have a team, man.
Did you like Bubo, the mechanical owl that looked like a refugee from Buck Rogers?
We have Mr. Callyman says, I can't believe they disrespected and dismissed the owl on the Clash remake. Did not see the Clash remake. Did they disrespect the owl?
I don't recall.
I thought the owl was cute. He was like a clockwork owl. He's a machine of the gods. He kind of flew around and helped Perseus do stuff. I was a fan of how we had Burgess Meredith here in the movie as our Obi-Wan Kenobi, who isn't really all that helpful.
There's a lot of big names for the cast, including Laurence Olivier as Zeus, which is probably the biggest name for the movie, but Burgess Meredith, Maggie Smith, and Ursula Andress, and Harry Hamlin. So funny story, we watched this movie in high school in 12th grade
really?
literature class. Yes, because that's where we would do the Greek mythology was part of the curriculum. And so at the end of the unit, the teacher, very odd guy, showed us the 1981 Clash of the Titans, probably on a VHS, I would imagine. And this is like 2008, okay? But I'll never forget the teacher saying, oh, yes, the movie stars Harry Hamlin, who you'll remember from L.A. Law. And I was just like, I know what that is, but like no one else here knows what that is. And like L.A. Law went off in like 1994. Okay, this is 2008. Like no one knows what you're talking about, dude.
Who was he playing? Oh, he was the main dude. Yeah, he's great.
Perseus.
He was great. I thought he was incredibly handsome. Just a good-looking guy all around. Fun. He had a nice, cool costume. I liked his sword.
Great hair.
I mean, there's a certain little bit amount of like this movie reminds me a little bit of Superman. We have this big, long, extended origin story sequence involving characters that are sort of Krypton-esque, all standing around in the clouds, right? And then we kick off the adventure. Is that fair?
With the light, the blue light, or the blue waves emanating beyond them. Love it.
Dope. Very cool. Very similar to how they did this the title for The Thing in Carpenter's film. You have a background, put a projector, poke some holes in it. It's a very effective look for the movie, and it's not that tough to do. But no, that was really cool. And then Maggie Smith is fun. It's just a fun it's a fun little adventure movie. I think I think it really gets going after the tasks are set before Perseus that he has to go find the old witch sisters, find out how to kill the Kraken, chop Medusa's head off, and return to, and thankfully the Kraken sequence was very short, right? They really couldn't make that one work. Am I wrong?
No.
Are you going to be an apologist on this one? Okay, yeah.
No. It just needs to be he goes and holds the head up, turns the stone. That's it.
The end. Because the Medusa part is awesome.
The Medusa part is the meat of the battle.
Yeah.
What I find most interesting about this for the special effects is that for all our talk about, this is becoming like old hat and stuff, the stop motion effects look great. They look the best they've ever looked for this movie, in my opinion, because of how they are progressing. What looks bad is the optical effects of like integrating, like when he's flying on Pegasus and he's matted onto a a screen where there's clouds. That looks bad. That looks horribly dated and didn't hold up well at all. All the stop motion effects look great. They look stunning. Okay.
Yeah. The horse is incredible. When the horse is flying through the air, I'm like, that looks like they filmed a horse, but it's not. It's Ray Harryhausen stop motion. But they make it so small, and the matting is bad, so it detracts from the effect.
Yes.
You know? It is unfortunate, but overall, I thought it was a good movie.
Let's see.
Let's see. What do we got?
That's
what
pretty
do we
much
got on IMDb trivia that we can read to our fans? No. A very, very dormant chat today. I would have thought I would have engendered a little more controversy with my opinions.
We have 10 people watching.
That's pretty good.
Right, Did you watch any of the other Harryhausen movies?
No,
just as casual.
No, I thought that I would, but I'm also been a busy week, and I'm trying to get this next video review done. I haven't put one out in like 3 months, so I'm trying to do something.
So for anyone out there that wants to explore these movies, the biggest bang for your buck, even though this set is a little expensive, I think it was like $80. This Blu-ray collection from Sony is the best way to get almost all the movies. And this includes starting with It Came From Beneath the Sea, all the way up to Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 movies. So it's pretty good. It's like $10 a movie, which is not bad. I watched most of these. I watched Earth versus the Flying Saucers, which was okay. Not like, I'll be more harsh on that one, to be honest with you, compared to other sci-fi alien invasion flying saucer movies that we've talked about in the past. This is kind of weak sauce, other than the special effects, which drive the entire movie, and that to me is boring because like they're okay, but like the Sinbad monsters and the Greek mythology monsters are much more interesting, even if the story is lacking.
Agreed. And that was interesting too, that what a huge space Greek mythology takes up in these films. I would have loved to have seen him do a medieval knight, like a medieval knight's dragon, something. That would have been really neat too. But he kind of stuck in his wheelhouse of Greek mythology and, Asian, for lack of
dinosaurs, also a huge part. Yeah. So Valley of Gwangi is a great movie. You have to get that separately. It's from the Warner Archive. They have that on Blu-ray, and that's a very, very fun movie. I haven't seen it in a couple of years, but it's like a dinosaurs through like the modern age. They encounter dinosaurs. I don't remember exactly how. It's sort of like a Savage Land thing, from what I recall, but it's like a Western kind of thing.
Okay, 69 in black and white. Huh.
It's not black and white. It's color.
Oh, is it really? Oh, I thought it was.
Yeah, Valley of Gwangi. Oh. Yeah, it's definitely color.
Oh, okay. Shoot.
And then anything else? I watched The Three Worlds of Gulliver, which I thought was very underwhelming to me. And that one, you would enjoy that because there's very few creature effects in that movie.
Oh, really? Well, what I do like the creature effects. I just like them when they're deployed strategically. Like I really wanted to watch The First Men in the Moon, which looked kind of neat because he was creating alien stop motion characters that interact with the actors who aren't just there for a set piece, right? They're like throughout the movie, which is interesting. And I've heard that one has kind of a Jules Verne like understanding of what the other planets would be like in kind of a nostalgic way, which is kind of appealing to me. So
I have not seen that one.
Yeah, that's the one I thought seemed really.
And that's pretty much it. Mighty Joe Young, which I have not seen in many years. I remember enjoying that one thoroughly, though. That is a very, very good movie, and it's very tugs at your heartstrings a little bit. It's a very like powerful emotional movie, I think.
Yeah, I remember seeing it as a kid. It's been a long time, but
not the 1998 Charlize Theron one.
No, I was watching clips of Mighty Joe Young though, and when he does the integration of the monkey grabbing the people and throwing them, it looks like really good.
Yeah.
I think he does a nice job with that in Clash with our Harry Hamlin getting on top of the horse. No, man, this was fun. I'm glad we watched these. They're relaxing, nice afternoon movies, even if it goes a little overboard for me sometimes, I still appreciated them, right? I just wanted to come in here putting my critic hat on to give us a little variety because I didn't want it to be just another big glow up, old hat. Oh wow, so amazing. You know what I mean?
So amazing. It changed my life. Now, when you listen to the interviews with creators who were impacted by these movies as a child, seeing
Joe
them,
Dante, John Landis, yeah.
George Lucas, yeah, Ray Harryhausen, was really remarkable movies at the time. Made a big impact on me.
Yeah, exactly. All right, people. Well, that was fun, man. We're gonna do. I think after this, we're kicking Halloween into overdrive big time, right? We're gonna go all
Yes,
till October 31st.
we have some big plans.
We
Stephen
do. It's gonna be fun.
King. We spoiled him. Stephen King, Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. We have a compliment here.
Love your guys' work. Thanks, man. Thanks, Perry Lee. We have a good time doing it. We have fun.
Yeah. Well, the other thing I'll say about these movies before we go is that they're much more enjoyable to watch when you just watch one. If you just like, hey, I'm going to watch The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Oh, that was great. Had a great time.
Totally.
But you're like, okay, I'm going to watch Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, Adventures of Gulliver, Jason the Argonauts, Clash of the Titans. And that's all you're watching. You're like, I need to get away from this. I can't take it anymore.
That's kind of maybe that's what happened to me. I was like, all right, enough.
Yes.
No more.
I was ready to move on. Like, enough.
Me too, man.
Highlander. When it was like Highlander, I'm like, I don't want to ever watch Highlander again. I don't ever want to think about Highlander again.
No, man. Once we got Clash of the Titans and he gets out of the Medusa, and I was like, all right, that was great. And then we cut to like, oh, watch out, there's scorpions. I was like, oh, good Lord. I was like, come on, right?
Yes.
Like, get to the Kraken. The clock's ticking, brother.
So do you think if 12th grade English classes are still showing Clash of the Titans, do you think they're showing the 2010 version at this point? Or just nothing at all?
Yeah. What a tragedy. That's the weird thing too. It's like, yeah, we got to remake Clash of the Titans. It's like, well, the whole appeal are the special effects. It's not the story.
But we have better special effects now, George. We have CGI, soulless CGI that just makes you believe in it.
If I'm not wrong, wasn't that one of the first movies that came out that was like, if you liked Avatar, this one's in 3D too?
It was.
Yeah.
It was bad, from what I recall. It was bad. I actually
Release the Kraken. That was the big
It was Liam Neeson, right? That became like a meme.
Release the Kraken. That was like one of the first memes too.
Yeah. Wrath of the Titans, from what I recall, which is the sequel, was much better because it was much more just ridiculous and like not taking itself seriously at all. Clash was like very like hard, like on the nose, like just like we're trying to make this something more than it is, and it came across forced.
Yeah, I didn't see either.
Shame on you, George. Where were you in 2010? You should have been watching these crap movies.
Yeah. I saw that Arrow Video put out a Clash and Wrath 4K.
Yeah,
release.
Why? That's bizarre. I saw that one at Barnes & Noble, and I'm like, why?
I thought it was the Harryhausen one that I was like, oh, I didn't know they made a sequel. And then I looked at it, and I'm like, oh, these are the 2010 ones? What?
I have the lovely Warner Brothers Blu-ray that is a book.
Horrible cover.
For some reason. I don't
and
know why.
The weird thing is
look what it comes with.
Oh, don't forget to go see it.
Probably came out at that time. Yeah, The Clash Begins 3/26/2010.
Okay. Well, I heard though actually they're putting out Clash of the Titans. I think Arrow is doing a 4K of the 81. Like very soon.
Okay.
We missed that one.
So I probably got this back then.
Yeah, you probably did.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyway, any final thoughts on Ray Harryhausen?
I enjoyed looking through it, and actually, I was looking through an article on him in Starlog magazine from the 70s, which was fun.
A great video also for anyone to watch is there was apparently a Ray Harryhausen museum exhibit at this like miniature museum in Tucson, Arizona. It's closed now,
Really?
Or the exhibit's over. But Angry Video Game Nerd went to that and did a tour, and filmed all of it, and it's really 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 interesting to look at
Oh yeah, I
with
forgot
all of
to
the
watch
original
that. Somebody
models that
sent that to
exist.
me. Yeah,
One of
I
them
would
could
get a
not be
kick out of that.
brought. I think it was Pegasus had to stay. A lot of the stuff is in England. Rest resides in England as its base.
Harryhausen
Pegasus,
moved there.
yeah, I guess so. Pegasus
Yeah,
could not be brought over to the U.S. because it uses real animal fur or animal feathers or something like that. And in order to do so, it'd have to be inspected like very closely by customs agents. So they just left it behind.
you could get on the phone with Trump and get that fixed. You could
Yeah,
get that guy to visit us.
imagine some customs agent being like, destroying Pegasus because they have to inspect it,
I know that'd be what a shame. No, I think does Lucas have any of them in his new museum? I wonder.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Is that open?
No, the 22nd. And actually, I was planning on I was gonna perhaps be in Los Angeles, and it would have been before the opening. And I was like, oh shoot, I'm not going anymore.
Okay.
But I want to go. I probably will here soon. I'm really excited. I really want to go.
Call me. Let me know. I'll go.
Maybe we should make a trip out of it. We're gonna do
Should
another
do a video on it. Yeah.
We're doing another meetup, IRL meetup soon. That'll be fun. So
Yep.
maybe
We have to exploit it though. We have to make some kind of content about this
Maybe
time.
we should do if we do a fan meetup visit to the George Lucas Museum. That way we're all in a public place, lots of cameras. You know what I mean? Just in case. I mean, I like you guys. I love you all, but you never know. We'll meet in a public place.
Yes.
All righty. Good talking to you, brother.
Good chat as always. Thanks, everyone.
See you guys.